Set review. Hey y'all, welcome back to Z Temple. Today I have a new type of content for you guys on the channel, and that is going to be a set review of Times to Come. So we just got a new set released on Lackey, and I'm going to go through all 129 cards and rank them into these 5 different categories that I've created. So here at the top we have Meta Staple. These are cards that I think are going to show up in a variety of different decks across multiple archetypes, and potentially just be around for a while into the future. The next down are Cornerstone cards. So these are cards that are the reason you are running a certain deck or a certain strategy. They may not see play outside of that strategy, but they either create a whole strategy or make a whole strategy competitive. Below that, we have archetype staples. So these may not be the reason that you're running a certain strategy, but if you are running that strategy, you're probably including these cards. Below that, we have competitive flex. These are cards that might not always see play in every version of their archetype, but definitely are still competitively viable cards. Maybe they're the 12th hero in your 11 hero lineup, but maybe you might bring them in against a specific meta. Might see play, might not see play, depends on how the meta shakes out. And then lastly, we have cards that just probably won't see competitive play, not necessarily because the cards are bad, but just because they don't have any specific purpose that they accomplish greater than some other existing cards. So with that, we'll go ahead and get right into it. I have these split out by brigade. I'm doing the support cards with their respective archetypes rather than doing them all separately. If you guys have any feedback on this format, on the categories, just let me know. So first things first, we have Isaiah's Call. I think this is a really cool card. The original Isaiah's Call is very much a classic for me of the classic format. Probably with 1TC, it might not have been too strong. Maybe it would be a little bit too strong as an enhancement, as a straight reprint. As a dominant, I think it is asking a little much. It's a very strong effect, but this is definitely not something that I'm excited to just slam into all of my profits decks. However, anytime that I see a dominant that gives you consistency and some extra value, my first thought is, can I put this in a deck that restricts dominance and then get the consistency value of the card and then lock the game down so that the fact that I am down one potential battle dominant is not impacting me. So maybe there's a cross-complacent Isaiah deck that this slots into. Otherwise, probably not with the current pool. So I'm going to put this into flex. This could see play in the right deck, but I don't know what it quite is yet. Restored Land. This card is very interesting. If you've been keeping up with the Z Temple Discord, there's been a lot of buzz about decks trying to remove all of the opponent's evil characters off their board, out of their deck, before they ever get a chance to use them. This is a phenomenal card in that strategy, and because it's not just limited to green prophets, it can be any Old Testament prophet. This means that your Joshuas and your Davids across all the different decks that you can slot a Joshua or a David into can potentially utilize this, and I think that they are viable evil character discarding strategies in green, gold, purple, and potentially a mix of those. But I think all of them would run this card. So I'm putting that into Cornerstone. Covenant of Time. This is a very cool card, very unique card, both because it can be utilized as multiple card types pretty much simultaneously within the same battle, and also because it lets you potentially reuse an enhancement multiple times in a battle. As just a general value piece, this is probably not slotting into any of my green decks, given the fact that you still need initiative to play it, and it's not instantly going to accomplish something. You're going to have a specific plan for this. So once again, I think a little bit situational enough that I'm going to put it into flex. If you find a really cool combo for this card, then I can see getting good use out of it, but I'm not expecting it to show up in a majority of green decks. Isaiah, new Isaiah, notably a little bit of a shift from the old Isaiahs, which used to do some form of CBN enhancements. This guy now is a speed hero and has a little bit of territory disruption. Drawing cards is good, but this is limited to specifically Isaiah heroes, so you have to be have to be specifically on that strategy. It does potentially help with removing evil cards, but it's situational enough that you have to, like, a dominant has to be played. You're probably not going to be playing the dominants just to activate this, so it would be a situation where you're already playing a dominant, you happen to get this extra benefit. So this is mostly a D3 hero. In my opinion, Call plus another Isaiah card in the set that we'll see later kind of lends Isaiah decks to being ones that want to put out a hero, a hard to remove hero, and then play a decisive battle winner on it. And so I actually prefer the older CBN enhancements Isaiahs for dedicated Isaiah decks. But it might end up turning out that they would rather have the draw. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into flex. We might end up, we'll see how these categories play out. Maybe this flex category might end up being too big, but we'll see. This guy, Malachi, this is a great effect. So anytime that you see a card that bans and does something else, it's pretty likely that that card sees play if its archetype is any good. The fact that he's restricted to banding to a minor profit and not just any profit makes him a little bit harder to just slap into any green deck, because not every green deck is going to be focused on minor profits. However, that effect is really nice, and in a deck that's maybe like a Soul Hide deck that's trying to accumulate card advantage without drawing a lot of cards, this is exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to put this straight into staple. Next, we have Joel. You can shuffle pretty much your whole hand and draw that many cards, and you get to go through either player's deck and play out a human evil character as a hero. This is nice for both decks, that the aforementioned evil character removal deck, although you would definitely rather be killing their characters, since converted ones can just get bounced and reused that way, but still solid. The shuffling is quite nice. You can get rid of all your evil cards to try to stock up on good cards for the battle, and then hope to draw back into your defense later. Also being able to set up maybe a temple guard to do a strategy focused around that, or any other evil character that you want to convert to a hero. This guy is definitely going to be used to set those up. I don't expect those to be particularly competitive. So if a evil character hero deck ended up being like top tier competitive, this guy would go into cornerstone for being an enabler of that archetype. But since I don't foresee that, I'm just going to go ahead and put him into staple, for the fact that if you're running an evil character removal deck, you're almost certainly going to include this guy. Plus he has that added benefit of the cool Johnny deck based around an evil character hero. New Ezekiel. This has a little bit of some hand disruption with some limitations, plus banning to an Ezekiel hero. So again, does something plus banding. That's pretty nice, although it's limited to specifically an Ezekiel hero, which is mostly going to be his supporting angels. And while Isaiah definitely does have some reasons to want to run his supporting angel crew, there's less reasons for that, in my opinion, for Ezekiel. So this is mostly going to be included for that hand disruption. I think we're going to see a lot of mono brigade defenses, especially with their enhancements. So this is most of the time going to hit a character or a dominant. Notably, zero brigades is not single brigade. So this can be nice for some hand disruption. Maybe the evil character killing deck wants to use this as a way to try and hit stuff that they're hit evil characters that they're holding in their hand. But again, those are probably going to be mono brigade, so it's not actually going to do that very often. I am going to go ahead and drop this into flex. I think there's maybe an argument for staple for that evil character killing deck, but because of how much single brigade defense I'm expecting to see, I think you probably end up not actually running this guy. Amos, this card is awesome. You can turn any banding enhancement into a CBI battle winner. That's pretty good. Infinidab, the old deck that was trying to band in Isaiah and Aminadab to bounce their character CBN, that was maybe not the most competitive deck, but it was viable. And that was using a 2-hero combo just to bounce their guy and then make it CBN with the Isaiah. This is effectively both of those characters combined, and shuffling their character is a lot better than just bouncing it. You do have to shuffle your own card, but minimal downside. If you're getting to do this effect, you're probably winning the battle off of it. So I'm putting this guy into Cornerstone. I think that this is probably like the default thing that Prophet decks are going to try and do, is play banding enhancements and win their battles with this guy, especially because of an enhancement that we're going to see here a little bit later. Zachariah, protection for all your dudes. That's pretty good. Your prophets like their good dominance for the most part, so that having to reveal one is not much of a cost. Again, this is a do something and band, and it's less limited than either our Malachi or our Ezekiel, because it's kind of a combination of both. You can do any minor prophet or any Zachariah hero. So I think you definitely are going to see this in pretty much any minor prophet focused deck, and even just a general purpose green deck that has some minor prophets in it probably does want this guy. Very nice to be able to just make the whole stack protected. Your Prince of the Airs can't knock him out. The new Greeks are not going to be able to shoot him immediately. This is a great effect, and probably straight into staple for green decks. And then we have New Jeremiah. So New Jeremiah also been getting a lot of buzz in the Z Temple Discord lately due to the revelation that this use enhancements ability inherently makes him rainbow for the purpose of using enhancements. So he can use any brigade of enhancements from reserve. So not only is he able to access this little pocket dimension of value that you can build for him, you can build that for him with the whole good enhancement set in the game. There's some nice things that you can do with this, especially for the evil character killing deck, playing Mary's Prophetic Act to reserve a card out of their deck 4 times per battle. It's pretty good. You do not want to give this guy initiative. He will ruin your life. I think this guy is just immediately one of the best characters in a normal green deck, and in the evil character killing deck especially, he can potentially accomplish that deck's entire game plan in one battle if you let him. So I think it's unlikely that he's not going to be included in any green decks, and I think you can even build a combo deck centered entirely around him where you're trying to win all of your battles with just this hero. So I think straight into Cornerstone for this guy. Expect to see a lot of him. next up, we're getting to the enhancements. So we have Pride Laid Low, one of the most unique and coolest enhancements in the new set. While it is very cool and unique, and I'm glad that they're exploring design space like this, it unfortunately has one of the biggest problems with an enhancement trying to be competitive, which is that it most likely does not single-handedly win you a battle, which is kind of the expectation that enhancements have to meet these days. So you're going to play this, and it's going to heavily restrict their options. If this was a battle that would have had a lot of back and forth enhancements, and you're able to stick this, then you probably are going to end up winning that battle, but it's going to be because you supported it with other things. And there are lots of other cards that also will win you a battle if you manage to make them stick. So involves music is relevant. You can make that, it's easier to tutor it. But I think it probably just barely doesn't make the cut. Maybe a focused Jeremiah deck might have it in reserve as an option to fight through a heavy defense, but I think it's probably not gonna quite get there, but maybe it will. Similarly, we have Perfidy. This can be used on either side, so that's nice. However, it suffers a similar problem to Pride Laid Low, which is that it doesn't necessarily win you a battle right off the bat. If you're facing off against a character that's protected or is killing you, which is what evil characters typically do these days, one of those two things, this doesn't actually get you out of that situation. This is more so going to be useful in a like back and forth enhancement slugfest, where this is potentially a 2-for-1, but even then it isn't a guaranteed 2-for-1. So I would be a little bit surprised if this ends up seeing competitive play. The flexibility is nice, but I think it's just a little bit too dependent on circumstances to make it into your deck. Enjoy Their Hands. This is, in my opinion, a much better card to mess with their hand with than Perfidy. You're still kind of trading an enhancement 1-for-1, where you're playing this and then they're losing an enhancement. However, for this card, you get to actually play it. So you're spending a card, they're losing a card, but then you are also effectively drawing and playing that card that you took from them. So this is a guaranteed 2-for-1 in that sense. And it even comes with a negate. So if they have a protected dude or a guy who put you in special initiative, you get to respond to that with this and then also 2-for-1 them. So the reliance on the opponent having a card that you actually can get value out of makes it like a little bit inconsistent, but the floor of just being a negate and removing something out of their hand is pretty nice. I do expect there to be a good amount of hand protection this year, so you might run into that problem, but I'm going to go ahead and bump this up to staple. I think you can just slam this into green decks, and I think it's actually pretty solid. Playtesting will tell how often that play is getting the value that you hope for. Maybe it does get bumped down to a flex slot, but green, because of Deborah especially, does have the ability to run more enhancements between the deck and the reserve than a lot of other brigades do. So I can easily see this frequently making the cut in those kind of straightforward green decks. The Lord Dwells. This is a fairly straightforward interrupt and battle winner. Does have a modifier for a specific hero, but that's probably not going to come up too often. Joel is kind of here for his one-time convert and not necessarily somebody that you're going to be attacking with all the time. And in my opinion, just a interrupt and win the battle is not quite the bar these days. It's a solid card. It does unfortunately also suffer from the problem of being unlikely to do anything on turn 1, which is a meaningful downside for any enhancement. And due to how many solid enhancements green has received in the last couple sets, I think that it's pretty unlikely that this one sees competitive play. Next, we've got the 4 Forgotten, reserve all evil cards in battle, and you get to take something out of discard pile. That's pretty neat. This is kind of a newer type of enhancement that we're seeing a few of in each set, where it's a straightforward battle winner on the front, but then it has some kind of back end benefit that you get for resolving it. This is a nice benefit, being able to get your enhancements back. It's an Isaiah enhancement, which is relevant for the older Isaiahs that make their enhancements CBN, and it's allowing you to get your Isaiah enhancements back, so you can use the same ones multiple times. I think that in an Isaiah focused deck with a CBN enhancements Isaiah, this almost certainly makes the cut. Otherwise, probably not. Given that there is some archetype support for that dedicated Isaiah deck, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a staple for that deck specifically. I could see an argument for it coming down a tier and being in this flex slot. But it could even see play outside of that deck if you find yourself running several Isaiah heroes. It's a solid enhancement. This one, shuffle new character, can be potentially repeated 3 times. Natively CBP, that is relevant. Green typically does not have a lot of modifiers on their enhancements. We aren't seeing a ton of fight by the numbers or prevent on evil characters, so the CBP I think is a little bit less relevant right now. CBI would be incredible, since that's a modifier that they're missing for most part of the reason why Amos is such a big deal. But so just shuffle an evil character CBP, definitely not making the cut. If used by Ezekiel, you can do it 3 more times. That's probably wiping their board, or at least mostly wiping their board of evil characters. However, the fact that it has to be used on a specific hero means that it's not going to be that consistent. So I think that this probably does not make the cut. Here we have Worship at Jerusalem. We're minusing them a card and then banding. I think this is a card that's like right on the edge. Prophets definitely want to band. That's kind of their thing. They have banding enhancements. We've got Amos as the payoff. This also minusing them a card. That's pretty nice. I will say we already have a starter deck card that in green that's a negate plus band, and in my opinion, a negate is better than making them shuffle something. So I think that starter deck card is straight up playable. I would put it in flex or maybe even staple, depending on whether you can fit it or not. But I think this card is a cut below that, and you probably don't want both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down here. I think that there are enough other banding enhancements that you probably want to play those over this one. And then lastly, we have The Lord Calls. This one is a protect enhancement plus you're drawing 3 potentially if played from reserve, so basically just on Jeremiah. This is interesting. It doesn't really win you the battle at all, since if you weren't winning the battle before, just adding 5 strength and it kind of pseudo negates their removal. So if they're trying to kill you, you can interrupt, protect yourself, you're no longer being removed. That is nice. However, I think most of the time that Jeremiah is going to be getting removed, it's going to be from dominance. And this is not going to save you from that. And yeah, the drawing 3 is a nice payoff, but again, that's only happening if you're playing it on Jeremiah, and if Jeremiah is getting initiative, then there are enhancements with better payoff than just drawing 3 cards. And also, if you protect yourself, then you're potentially, and also add 5 strength, you're potentially passing initiative, and you do not want to do that on Jeremiah. So I think if Jeremiah had worked as originally intended, where he could only use green enhancements, then you would probably play this as just a nice payoff for him. But I think we have better options, and it's for the best that we have better options. I think I've had a lot of fun theory crafting with this guy, but unfortunately, I think that means that his potentially signature enhancement is not going to quite make the cut. So that's where we're at for green. Definitely a nice balance of cards across the different categories. No cross archetype staples coming of green this year. I think we're mostly seeing stuff that's either going to see play in dedicated green decks or supporting a specific kind of strategy, even if it's not green in the form of restored land. But lots of exciting cards that I'm looking forward to play around. You can check out my the next part of this review, where we are going to be looking at the Daniel cards next, the kind of face cards of the set, given this is outside of the Prophets, basically all Daniel. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.